Robert Mueller's team is preparing to interview President Trump's private lawyers, but it's also been forced to defend itself against new attacks from members of the Trump transition team, Republican lawyers, and the conservative media.
At issue here is tens of thousands of emails sent by members of the transition team. The transition team's lawyers say Mueller got those emails illegally and argue that the documents should have been protected.
But the special counsel's office says it has followed the proper legal channels, and legal experts say the emails are fair game because they were sent from government accounts. CNN's Boris Sanchez explains how this latest round of attacks will affect the investigation moving forward.
This story just adds another layer on what has been a barrage of attacks on the special counsel from Republicans, some Republicans who are making the case that Robert Mueller should resign after news broke several days ago that there had been messages exchanged between top FBI officials back in 2016 during the campaign that were critical of then candidate Donald Trump. Republicans made the case that those two officials that had since been on the special counsel team had tainted the investigation, so to speak. One of those officials actually left the special counsel before the text messages were revealed. One of them was reassigned shortly after those messages came to light. But again, many Republicans are making the case that the messages reveal partisanship within the investigation, and they've argued that Robert Mueller should resign. Democrats, in response, have made the case that the special counsel is not partisan, that it remains politically independent, though they are speculating that the president is now planning to fire Robert Mueller. Two Democrats, both on the House Intelligence Committee, made the case this weekend that that was the case. First, Adam Schiff, who was on Twitter saying that he believed that the firing of Robert Mueller would happen before the end of the year. The other, Jackie Spear, also made the case to a San Francisco TV station that Robert Mueller's firing was imminent. CNN reached out to White House attorney Ty Cobb for a statement on these remarks, and he gave us a statement writing in part, quote, "As the White House has consistently said for months, there is no consideration of firing the special counsel." So you have the White House denying that there is any kind of plan to remove Robert Mueller as the head of the special counsel. You have some Democrats that are saying that that is the case, that his firing is imminent. And then you have certain Republicans that are saying that the special counsel is tainted and that Robert Mueller should indeed resign. A complicated situation, and one that likely will receive greater focus because as early as this week, you have a White House legal team meeting with Robert Mueller one-on-one, potentially to discuss the next steps in this investigation. Boris Sanchez, CNN at the White House.
All right, here now, CNN political commentators Errol Lewis and Andre Bauer, and CNN political analyst Julian Zelizer as well. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so let's start here with the claim that these emails, tens of thousands of documents, were unlawfully produced by the GSA. Julian, these are government accounts, right?
Yeah, it seems from the stories that the GSA voluntarily shared the information with the investigators. So at this moment, there's no reason to suspect anything wrong was done. I see this as part of a broader attack from the administration on the legitimacy of the investigation.
So let me come to you, Andre, and I want to read for you a tweet from Norm Eisen, the former ethics czar for the Obama White House. And he also was, as he writes here in this tweet, the deputy general counsel of a transition, Obama-Biden 08. I warned everyone there is no expectation of privacy in your transition emails. The clue, emails are name@ptt.gov. The whining letter from the Trump transition tactically admits this. It ends by asking for a legislative fix. You've been part of a transition to the executive branch when you were the lieutenant governor under Mark Sanford in South Carolina. You knew that your emails were government property, did you not? And if there was some investigation, they could be retrieved through a government agency, correct?
I did. But I would say this, Victor. What the American people want to have is they want to feel like there is a conflict of interest-free investigation. And if people aren't going through the right channels to do that, then people say, well, you know, there's already so much of a cloud over this. It looks like most of the people investigated donated to either President Obama or Secretary
Well, hold
Clinton.
on. I want to give you time to finish this answer, but for the scope of this letter that went from the attorney for Trump for America to these congressional committees, you acknowledge that these documents were not unlawfully obtained, correct? And that
I don't, because I don't know the particulars of how they were obtained. I'm sure they can go through a legal channel to obtain them through the correct manner, and that may be what they should have done.
Are you suggesting that they didn't? I mean, if you say if that's what they should have done, then you're suggesting that maybe they did not.
Well, Victor, I don't know the particulars of it. What I'm more of the big picture is look, they're fair game. They may be a different channel by which they need to obtain these. But overall, what people, well, not everybody, but a lot of people feel like this is a one-sided investigation. Why isn't Hillary being investigated to her ties as Russia as well? Because you don't just, in NASCAR, for example, you don't just inspect
This ain't NASCAR, Andre. It ain't NASCAR. This is a federal investigation, and you've got a prosecutor here who's going through a government service agency, that office, or administration rather, to get the documents.
But Victor, you don't think that Hillary Clinton should be investigated too with her ties to Russia?
Andre,
I mean, the fact that she got hundreds of millions of dollars from Russians and now she gets nothing?
You knew the exact topic we invited you here to discuss. It was this letter from Trump for America to the congressional committees, and every time you're on, you transition it back to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is not the president of the United States, and right now she's not under federal investigation. That's what we're talking about this morning. Errol, let me come to you.
You asked me about investigation, and I tell you that a conflict of interest investigation includes everything on the table, not just a one-sided investigation.
Okay. So, Errol, let me come to you. And this is what we're hearing from conservative media, and we'll have this conversation with Brian Stelter a little later. This echo chamber from the White House to, most often, the studios of Fox News in New York, back and forth, and conservative media broadly trying to continue to discredit the Mueller investigation by trying to discredit the investigators, but also to shut it all down together.
Well, that's right. Part of what seems to be a transparent effort to sort of undermine the investigation by making it seem as if, well, there's some sort of conflict. Something wasn't done right. People may have actually given a political donation at some point in their life, and on and on and on. I mean, in this particular case, it's important to keep in mind that what's being offered here is that perhaps the transition materials were improperly given to the Mueller investigation, and they're saying it's protected by attorney-client privilege. One thing to keep in mind, and it's very rare to hear the special counsel actually explain any of this, but they said, look, we did everything pursuant to the permission of the writers of the emails or pursuant to criminal process, which to my ear sounds like what they're saying is you don't have you can't assert attorney-client privilege to do something that is unlawful. That defeats the privilege. So if you say, if I were to say to you, Victor, you're my lawyer, I plan to do something illegal, why don't you help me figure out how to do it? You can't run back later and say, this is all protected by attorney-client privilege. So, at some point, we should really talk about the truth, not the politics of the situation, not whether or not Hillary Clinton got a pass 2 years ago or anything like that. We should really talk about the facts of the matter, and that's what we should all be waiting for the special counsel to reveal to us.
Julian, I want to talk. Hold on, Andre. We're going to come back to you. I'll get back to Julian, and I'll come right back to you after that. We're going in an order here. There was a response here from a spokesman for the special counsel, which is very rare to hear from him. He's not responded to any of the criticism thus far. Let's put up on the screen what Mr. Carr said. When we have obtained emails in the course of our ongoing criminal investigation, we have secured either the account owner's consent or appropriate criminal process. They're defending how they got these emails. Just to give us some context here on the rarity of hearing from a spokesman for Special Counsel Mueller.
Yeah, we haven't heard much from him at all. He's been very careful to remain quiet, not to have his spokesman out front. In part, this is because Mueller is extraordinarily cautious, actually, in how he conducts investigations. It's the opposite of what administration spokespeople tend to be saying right now. But I think that the special counsel feels that his office right now is under systematic attack, which it is. And so my guess is this is an effort in a very important week, probably, in terms of how the administration is going to handle this investigation to explain clearly that nothing wrong was done on their part. They don't believe that this is protected material, and they went through the proper channels to obtain the material. As Errol said, this is a very transparent effort. That's why all of a sudden we're talking about Hillary Clinton right now in the panel. And so I think the special counsel feels that they have to be a little political right now, meaning not political for one side or the other, but to protect the integrity of the investigation from the President of the United States and his allies.
Andre, do you think Special Counsel Mueller should be fired?
No, but I do think that it is more than fair to raise questions about people who are on his team that have only donated to one side, that have been involved in Fusion GPS, whose wives have been paid for them. All those are conflicts of interest. And all those are important when building the trust of the American people, because the whole reason you have special counsel is to make sure there are no conflicts of interest, and they're all over the place in this investigation.